Hi everyone, my name is Tyler Reed and I will be doing the summary of week 3 discussion board. The first question we discussed was, what is your audit experience? And we found out that we have a wide wealth of knowledge and experience just within our class. Just within employment history, we had people work at places such as Fidelity, PwC, RSM, RGIS, LGA, the MFA companies, Watts Water, and much more. Some of these are within 20 minutes of Lowell, within Woburn, and some are much farther away in Canada and in Boston. I personally worked at PwC in the Seaport this summer, but I was virtual and I worked home from the North Shore. We actually even have someone who worked in PwC in Pakistan, all the way across the globe, which is really cool to know that we have someone in our class that did that because we can ask them about things such as IFRS and how it relates to GAAP. As an auditor, we need to know all of these questions, especially if we're planning on taking the CPA exams. Hands-on experience, we have people who were enrolled as interns, full-time, part-time, co-ops. I believe we even had a CFO within our classroom I saw. And we have such a wide variety of industries, such as U.S. labor and unemployment, condos, not-for-profits, local governments, retirement plans, employee benefit plans, IRS audits, all of that and within private and public industries, and tax and audit. So some really cool experiences that we've had just in our classroom. Some specific jobs that have been worked on by students in our classroom are inventory accounts from Home Depot and Walmart, reconciliations of accounts, performing procedures using tested controls in accordance with SAS, audits of receipts and expenses, support services and transfers from GAAP to IFRS. And one thing I found really cool was the use of a software I'd never heard of called Blackline, which they said was utilized as a reconciliation binder. So that may be something we see within our careers in auditing. So it's cool that we have someone who has a full understanding of that already. So the second question of this discussion was one thing you'd like to know about being an auditor that's not really directly related to something we're going to see in this course. And I tried to group them into some broad categories because there's a few categories we could use to summarize it. The first one was questions that aren't related to this course, might be within training, skills, acquisitions, developing your career, what you might see in your career early on. So training process for an auditor. A lot of our current students saw a hands-on approach. They saw mock training such as simulations I saw in my time at PwC. They saw within a month timeline, you really get a good training in and then start to be trial by error, getting your hands dirty. I guess that will vary from company to company in the size and their culture. Another part of this one was, did you learn anything about different industries in your time, and what are the different industries, and what kind of firms will show you different industries? And the main answer we saw there was that it really varies firm to firm. With smaller firms, you might see more industries than the larger firms, such as the Big Four. But as my time at PwC, my internship, they started a new initiative to get first years and second years into more industries so they can see a wide variety as they become into the manager roles, where when you're in a manager role or a senior auditor, you're going to be placed in different industries than just one specific one. Another part of this would be how early or how soon did you see the big picture things such as risk assessment, audit planning, those kind of things that you might expect a manager or a partner to be working on. And again, it really varied from firm to firm from our answers we saw. It depends on if you're a first year at a big four, you might not see the big picture risk assessments until a couple years in. Or if there's a lot of turnover, you might be put there right away. Something that I thought was really cool was someone asked what other certifications you can get to better your career or improve your resume within being an accountant or an auditor. And we saw they could be a certified fraud examiner. You could get your CISA, CIA, CGAP, CBA, CFA, or CMA, which is really cool. And you can then use that to specialize your career path down the way. Um, some really cool things you can learn in these certifications. and it doesn't just really end at the CPA. And I think a really important question, and one I even struggled with for a while, was how do you specialize? How do you choose a path between tax or audit? I know, for example, I thought tax would be a little boring personally, but actually one of these answers said that they had thought as well tax would be boring, but after spending some time there, it really wasn't what they thought it would be like. It was more hands-on, more intriguing than just looking at numbers and crunching numbers, which I personally have always thought that might be like, and that's why I chose audit. So that may be something I even want to check out later down the road. The next big idea was the work-life balance questions that were asked. As we know that accountants and auditors have very demanding schedules, definitely during busy season. There are positive and negative responses, both pretty apparent in the answers. Some have experience of smaller firms allowing more times on the weekend when needed, when they see that their team needs some time. While maybe at a big four, some people believe that you're just going to be worked and you're more of a number than an individual. But my experience, um, they take care of you with things such as food, dinner, dry rides home, stuff to just take care of you to try to keep some pressures off you. Another question within that category was, is there ever any pressure um, to eat hours, like in our example of Brent in that case we had? And someone had the experience that that did not occur, and that really when they were put at the end of the sword, they would just put their heads down and they were dedicated to their work, and they could be truthful to their managers and partners and get all their work done on time. If it wasn't on time, they were still truthful and they could continue on. Another big area was regulations. One question I found interesting and left unanswered actually was how audits were handled prior to Sarbanes-Oxley of 2002, which would be really be cool thing to learn more about because was busy season such a big struggle, or were there less regulations so people could get it done quicker? Going off that, someone asked about larger scandals in accounting history, which would be really interesting to learn about because you can learn where you may be able to improve um, your audit practices and where before it was left fell short. So, for example, the Bernie Madoff case someone gave an example of, which is just really cool and can help you be a better auditor and judgment and biases. The last section I just put in a group of other thoughts, which is some people ask about career shifts, what caused career shifts, why you may have chose a different way or tax audit, or, which we didn't really see many answers to. But another one was busy season, and which I thought was a funny one, which is tax compared to busy season of an audit, which was when is the busy season? So I didn't really see any answers, but from my personal experience, tax season would be for tax time from January 1 to for a couple months when your taxes are due, everyone's taxes are due. While an audit, I think it's more based off of year end. When the company, if they on a calendar year or the fiscal year, maybe they end 12/31, then you might have a busy season until mid March. Or if it's June 30th, then maybe for a couple months after March when you have to file. So I think that's when most of the busy seasons are for audits compared to tax. And the last slide I wanted to go over, which is I think is really a big topic right now, is the impact of COVID in our industry. So from answers I saw, whereas we're working electronically, obviously working from home, um, and from my personal experience, PwC has mentioned briefly that they may forever keep an option to be working from home because they've seen that it's been able to work. I mean, it doesn't mean you're never going to be in the office, but that if you it might help with work life balance if you have some kids at home or you just need a personal, feel like you may work better from home that day or you're just stressed out and don't want to travel to work. So that's really cool. We actually had some experiences between PwC and RSM in our class for internships this summer that were changed due to COVID. And for example, mine was just a 2 week simulation of audits, getting to know the company culture, what an auditor does on a day-to-day basis. And RSM, we had someone who seemed like they actually got to monitor and follow along a senior auditor, which probably a great experience to see what the everyday life is like. So I thought just covering the COVID topics would be a good idea. Just so someone maybe like to have an internship, they can understand what they're gonna get themselves into. A lot of Zoom calls we had. So yeah, just adapting to the nature of the environment of the world right now. And that is it. I appreciate everyone listening and watching, and I hope we realize how the extent of knowledge and experience we have in this class, and hope we can bring everyone together and learn some new things. Thank you.